Okay, so it's going to be a quick lesson today, only 1 hour, guys. We're going to look back on. Hang on a second. Let me just. There we go. We're going to go back on a previous subject that we covered a number of months ago, and then do an exercise out of Japanese for busy people. So let's get on it. Okay. So you may or may not remember this chapter from months ago, but oh, here's Constantina. Just wait for it to come in so I don't have to repeat anything. Hayak, joined there. Okay, let's carry on. Right, so we have this subject of verbs that can be used to modify nouns in the same way that we usually use adjectives before nouns. We can also use just simple verbs. So usually we mark a noun as an object to which we apply a verb. For example, tempura o tsukurimasu. So we're using, just a second, we're using o as the particle here to mark something that we're acting on. So tempura o tsukurimasu, to make tempura. Ohashi ga tsukaemasu. So here we're using ga to mark the object where we're using a potential form of a verb. Ciao. That's okay. We're just revising something we did a few months ago, and then we're going to do an exercise out of Japanese for busy people. And then if we're using a movement verb like iku, kuru, kairu, then we mark the objective, the destination, with ni. And even if we're using a suru verb, excuse me, a suru verb like unten suru, ryori suru, benkyou suru, then we still mark the object that we're doing with o. If you just wanted to say, I will cook, then you actually have two choices here. You can either say ryori shimasu or ryori o shimasu. So when you have nothing else except I will cook or I will study, for example, benkyou shimasu, benkyou o shimasu. Both of these are fine. But if we're actually saying what we're cooking or what we're studying, then the thing that we're cooking or studying should be the thing which is marked with o. So in this case, kuruma o unten shimasu, nihongo o benkyou shimasu, bangohan o ryori shimasu, like this. Is that okay, guys?
Yeah.
But we can also use verbs before a noun to modify the noun itself. And then we can take that pair of verb noun and incorporate it into the rest of the sentence. So this is the construction. We take the verb in the plain form, and this could be also the plain past form, the plain present continuous form, and put it before the noun. And we then take that pair and incorporate them into the sentence, either finishing with something like des, deshita, dewa arimasen, tabemasu, tsukaimashita, etc. Okay, so let's call this verb the modifying verb. We can think of it a little bit like an adjective, a describing word. So we'll call it the modifying verb so that we separate it from any other verbs in the sentence. Now, the tense of this modifying verb tells us something about the status of the noun itself, of the object here. For example, it's probably easier to understand this in Japanese than it is in English, really. Tsukatta naifu desu. Tsukatta naifu desu. So this refers to des, because this is in the present affirmative. And the knife, of course, this is knife, that I used. So this is being reflected by saying tsukatta rather than skau. So it's saying this is the knife that I used in the past. So I don't use it now, I use a different one. We can do the same thing with the present continuous. Tsukatte iru knife desu. So still this is reflected by des, that I am using. Tsukatte iru knife desu. And then let's just see this in the normal present future tense. Tsukau knife desu. This is the knife that I will use. Or it could mean this is the knife that I use on a regular basis, because we can use the present future verb tsukau to both talk about the future, but also things that you do on a regular basis. I'm seeing some affirmative nodding, which is good. I like affirmative nodding, or affirming nodding. Alles gut? Alles klar? Yeah. Now, in these three examples above, the tense of des also says something about the noun. It doesn't, usually we won't come across this form, but it's worth remembering that tsukatte knife des means this is the knife that I used. But what about if I said tsukatteiru naifu deshita? Does this change the sentence? Tsukatteiru knife deshita. Well, deshita can be used to suggest that the noun itself doesn't hold the same status as it used to. So in this example, kore wa, let's go back a second. In this example here, tsukatteiru knife deshita, this means this was the knife that I was using. This was the knife that I was using. Or this was the knife that I used. Yeah. So it suggests that this is no longer the knife that you're using. Now you're using another knife. Okay. Let's have a look at this one here. Kore wa mainichi. Oh, it actually refers to the picture above. So here we've got a picture of a man with two cars. Kore wa mainichi unten suru kuruma deshita. This one here. Kore wa mainichi unten suru kuruma deshita. This was the car that I used to drive every day. Ga senshu kara, from last week, kore wa mainichi unten suru kuruma desu. So here we're seeing that the only difference is deshita here and des here, saying that this car no longer has the status as being the one that you use every day. Okay to proceed, guys? Yeah. And as the plain present form, skau, for example, can also be used to describe regular routines. It is interchangeable with the present continuous form. So where we're using tsukatteiru, usually we can just use skau, to be honest. But just keep in mind that this would be the present continuous. 質問ありますか？問題ありますか？わからないところありますか？
For the last one, for the plain present form that you want to show the habit, does that mean that both the tsukatteiru and the tsukau can be translated as both? So that tsukatteiru it also means this is the knife that I am using now.
Yeah, it depends really on the thing that you use. So for example, if we're talking about the car that you own, then I think unten shiteiru and unten suru are completely interchangeable, because whether you're talking, obviously, if I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm not driving my car. So if I say untenshite iru kuruma, then you know that I'm talking about the car that I am driving at this part of my life rather than the car I'm driving right now. But if you're talking about, for example, a knife that I'm using, then this has much more time specificity.
Okay.
So yeah, it really depends on the objects that you're talking about. But generally, they're kind of interchangeable. If you want to be specific to say, this is the knife that I'm using right now, if you're in the kitchen chopping, then of course skatteiru would be a better choice. And I don't know if I've actually answered your question there, Effie, did I?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I like to answer a question with something completely irrelevant most of the time. Yeah. Toby, are you okay? I thought I saw your hand kind of wavering.
Yeah, I think I'm okay. I'm just thinking about this deshta, if you want to use it in the past. And when you have the past.
I'll be right back. Sorry, it's got a delivery run. Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Christmas ですから。ね。In fact, I'm going to bring this into context. Give me a second, Toby.
Yeah, no problem.
I think I threw away one of the critical props from this demonstration, actually. So you'll have to use your imagination. So you page up. Just arrived. Korega, and it's not. This isn't actually the item. You have to use your imagination. Korega, 使っているナットクラッカーでしたが、今日から届いたばっかりの使っているナットクラッカーです。イエーイ。
新しいですか？
新しいです。ただいま届いたところですよ。イエーイ。
I don't know if it's correct, but atama o tsukanai.
Don't crack your head.
Don't use your head to crack them.
Oh, right. I thought you meant don't put your head in the nutcrackers. That would be quite an interesting challenge for me to get my massive head in there, to be honest.
後でワインオープナーを使いました？
実は古いものがありましたが、捨てました。壊れたものがありましたが、捨てました。捨てる means to throw away, to dispose. Yeah. Yes. So, Toby, does that? I doubt that answers the question, but so do you want to ask again?
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. If you have a double past, if, for instance, if you have skatta knife deshta, how this would affect the meaning.
This was the knife that I used.
Yeah.
So this I think we actually discussed this kind of problem
the first
time we went through this. Yeah.
So, but I can't remember.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. I think in that, I mean, it's almost certainly you won't use that form, but what that would mean is this was the knife that I used, but now it is something else. So it means that knife that you used has now been transformed into something else So
this,
almost certainly you won't use it.
Skau knife deshta is the same.
Skau knife deshta ga. Skatta knife deshta ga. This was the knife that I used. It doesn't actually make much difference whether you use skatta or skau in that case when you're saying this was the thing that I used and this is now the thing that I'm using. Yeah. I don't think it really changes it. So, for example, in this car example, I think you would use mainichi unten shita kuruma deshita ga. So, yeah, in this example here, this suru here could be shita. It doesn't change the sentence. Yeah. I don't think it does anyway.
Does it maybe have to do with the fact that if it's like next to you and you are showing it, it's still there, so you will still say this is the old knife that I used. But if it's like on a picture or like, you know, I used to have a knife, I don't have it anymore, I cannot show you, then maybe you use the deshita there.
Could be.
You show that if it's des, it probably says that it's here in the premises, or like you can actually show it, or like, I don't know.
Actually, I remember the difference now. You can't use shita here because this means that this was the car that I once drove, and it means I just drove it once. If you use shita, if you use suru, it means the car that you used to drive on a regular basis. That's the difference. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So just forget about the tough one in this case.
Yeah, unless you want to say this was the car that I drove once, but now it's been turned into a piano.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Can you make pianos out of cars?
Piano.
Can you use, for example, the tsukata knife des? Like, for example, you're two people, like maybe the idea is like you're two people and one is cutting like I cut meat with something and I don't want the other person to use that to cut vegetables. So I can say in that case, that's the knife, this is the, because it's still there, this is the knife that I used to cut meat, so don't use that, for example.
Yeah.
Because it's still there, it's still mine. So it doesn't mean that, you know, I throw it away and I don't use it anymore. But maybe it's, can you use it like that?
Sure. So you, in this case, you could say, これが肉を切ったナイフです。Or これが肉を切ったとき使ったナイフです。
Yeah,
this would be fine. To be honest, I've only made this slide this complicated because I knew that Piotr would ask really complex questions about it. Your conversations will never be this complex. Okay, everybody good to continue? Okay, sorry, give me a second. Just wanted to test my nutcrackers. I imagine I could probably torture some people. Look at that. You put somebody's something in there and squeeze, that's going to really hurt.
All kinds of nuts.
Somebody, something. Somebody.
I was thinking of digits, to be honest, but okay. So let's have a quick play with this couple of little exercises. I don't mind if we do these. Let's look at the first one first. So it's really a way of moving the focus of the topic or the subject away from one thing onto the other. So, for example, in this first sentence here, I bought a book in Ginza yesterday. Then the topic is what? What's the topic in this sentence?
Book.
No, that's the object.
I.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, although we don't write it, it's watashi wa, isn't it? This is the topic of the sentence, I. And then we would, how would we do the rest of the sentence?
Ginza de.
Good.
Nihono, Nihono, Hono.
I thought Japan.
I wish. Sorry. On o kaimashita.
Kaimashita. And then we've got yesterday as well, so we could maybe make this as a general announcement at the beginning. Kino.
Kino.
Watashi wa ginza de hono kaimashita. Yeah, good. And then what we're doing with the second sentence here is we're moving we're shifting the focus of the topic away from me and onto the book itself. So this is the book I bought in Ginza yesterday. Okay, guys, do you want to have a try? So doing it this way, Jock, means we end up repeating ourselves. If you say kono hon ga kino ginza de katta hon, there's kore wa, exactly, kore wa
kino ginza de
yeah.
katta hon desu.
Yeah, exactly. Ginza de katta hon desu. We're now marking the thing that we're looking at with kore wa. Kore wa. This is, yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at this one here then. So the simple version of this sentence, putting the attention on Jeff. Jeff will come to Japan tomorrow. So how would we translate this?
Jeff-san wa ashita Nihon ni kuru n desu.
Yeah, or even just more simply, just kimasu. Yeah. Okay, but now we're shifting the focus away from Jeff and onto the fact that it's tomorrow. Right, how would we do this?
Ashita wa.
Right, so now we've really clearly putting the spotlight on tomorrow. Ashita wa.
Jeff-san wa Nihon ni kuru.
Ni kuru.
Desu.
But there needs to be an object here, doesn't there? A noun. What is it? Come on, guys, jump forwards.
He.
Yeah. There's. Yeah. He. This meaning nichi. Yeah. Day. Ashita wa Jeff-san ga Nihon ni kuru hi desu. Yeah, exactly this. Okay, let's
But
do this.
Ashita's already done though, isn't it? If you say Ashita, you're already talking about a day.
Yeah,
you're
but
repeating it.
Specifically talking about tomorrow, though. So even though the word Ashita has the kanji for day in it, what we're actually saying is tomorrow is the day that Jeff will come to Japan. A little bit like, I mean, for example, you couldn't say with the book example, we had korewa because we had an object, but how would we do that with things like days of the week or dates? We'd have to say tomorrow, or we could, for example, say here, 29日は, so on the 29th is the day that Jeff will come to Japan. Yeah.
See, yeah.
Okay, how about this last one here then? So the simple version. Tobe, you've been very quiet recently. Step forwards up to the mic. I'm using this pan to make sukiyaki.
Watashi wa.
Okay, watashi wa.
この鍋をのこの鍋すき焼きを使います作ります。
Okay, so this sentence starts off with being a little bit more complicated than the others because we've got one verb here and one verb here.
Yeah.
So we need to identify exactly which is the main primary verb, which is going to go at the end of the sentence, and what is just detail that's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
I want to use to have a make in the end.
Really?
Yeah.
Because watashi wa
Right.
is at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you're saying I am using.
Yeah. So how could this put a compound?
You could, but I think you'd probably feel more confident using tameni.
Okay. Okay, let's see. So sukiyaki suru tame, sukiyaki skuru tame ni.
Good. Or tsukuru tame ni.
Nabe o.
Which nabe?
Kono nabe.
Good.
O tsukaimasu.
It's actually the present continuous tense at the moment.
Tsukatteiru.
Very good. Yeah. Tsukatte imasu. Excellent. Costa, step up to the mic. This is the pan I'm using. Sorry, this is the pan I'm making sukiyaki in.
I have to say this?
Yeah.
That was an invitation, okay.
It was, yeah. Step up to the mic.
Okay. Kore wa.
Good. Kore wa.
The pan is the nabe. Yeah. Nabe. Kore wa. Okay. Should I put first the sukiyaki?
Actually, this sentence is more simple than the original one here.
Sukiyaki o nabe naka. Or you shouldn't put them in. Just think of sukiyaki o tsukate desu. Tsukateiru desu.
Tsukateiru, definitely. Sukiyaki, not tsukateiru, but
because it's not a tsukao desu.
yeah,
I'm using it every day. Tsukao desu.
Yeah, or in this case, it's actually
tsukao nabe.
Sorry, just to be clear, this sentence here doesn't have using in it. It's got just this verb here, making sukiyaki. So it's sukiyaki, or what's the verb after sukiyaki?
It's making tsukao.
That's using.
Should I use another verb?
Yep, it's actually in the sentence above.
Tsukuru.
Tsukuru. Yeah.
Tsukuru nabe desu.
Okay, so skutteru, definitely.
Okay.
これはsukiyakiを作ってる鍋です. Now,
I guess it is to understand correctly. Isn't this like saying general? This is the pan I'm using usually to make this, the sukiyaki. Not I'm using this right now for that.
So this is the information that's missing from the English sentence because of the peculiarities of English. These original sentences here are not indicating clearly whether or not you're talking about now or whether you use it on a general basis. Okay. So let's set ourselves the criteria. This is the one you're using now.
Okay, so either way would be correct, no? If there wasn't any context about the time frame.
Exactly.
Okay.
But at the moment this says, this is the nabe, sorry, the sukiyaki making nabe. But what I want to say is this is the pan that I am making sukiyaki in. So there's one element missing from this final sentence here. Yeah, and where would I put it and how would I mark myself?
これは私が
Good. Exactly this. Yep. Perfect. Okay, there's a final bit I want to just do before we get to the chapter. Here it is. Any questions so far, guys? Sorry, it's not that. Everyone okay? Okay. Not this. Just a second. Where's it gone? Just move this to the side for a second. Okay, this is a kind of added bit of grammar / vocabulary. So as well as using verbs to describe things, then we can use adjectives. But sometimes, for example, let me just stop sharing this for a second. How do I say Andy has a big nose? Well, if I was to, let's start off with a slightly different sentence. Let's say Andy has a car. Andy has a car. So, Effie, how would you say this?
Andy has a car.
Yeah.
Andy さんは車を持っています。
You could use this, but usually you would say
あります。
あります. So, 車があります. Yeah. And then the problem is, if you want to now say Andy has a big nose, Jock, what would be the simple and instinctive sentence to say Andy has a big nose?
Andy は鼻が大きいです。
This was the correct answer, but what's the instinctive answer? Might be that you say Andy は大きい鼻があります. But this sounds like I'm carrying around a big nose with me, which sometimes my nose is so big that I do have to carry it around with me. But what you said is actually saying, can you say it again, Joe?
I've forgotten what I said.
Oh, you said Andy wa hana ga oki desu.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is saying Andy's nose is big rather than Andy has a big nose. Now, why can't we use Andy wa oki hana ga arimasu? Anybody? Why can't we say this? Why shouldn't we say this?
You're a collector of noses.
It does sound like it. Yeah, arimasu is used for inanimate objects, isn't it? For things which aren't alive. Is my nose alive? Kind of. It's part of me.
So they say.
But then can I say Andy wa hana oki hana ga imasu? This now sounds like my nose is alive and lives independently. Maybe I keep it in a little nest in my house somewhere. So this doesn't work either. So we can't use this arimasu or imasu to use it as an existence verb. We have to say Andy's nose is big. Andy no hana ga oki desu. So we can't really put the adjective before the object here. We have to say his nose is big, like this. Everybody okay so far? Let's just get this down on paper, shall we? Let's move this down for a second. So for describing features, person, we cannot use arimasu, because this suggests that that feature is not alive, e.g. a nose. Cannot use imasu. It suggests that the feature is independently alive. Independently alive. I'm not sure if that's the right spelling of independent. Independent. Yeah. We have to say Andy's nose is big. but without, preferably, without the possessive no. E.g. Andy wa hana ga ookii desu. Now, Toby, you're about to ask why I can't use the possessive, no?
Yeah, exactly. That was my instinct when you asked the question. And Andy-san no hana ga ookii desu.
I mean, it would translate, but it sounds like something that I own. Now, I do own my nose, but it's actually part of me. Yeah. It's not like I can transfer it to somebody else. It's not something which is separate to me, which belongs to me. It's me. So what we're actually saying is Andy is a big-nosed person.
So it's something separate from you would be no.
Then you could use no. So Andy no kuruma, Andy no kuruma ga atarashii desu. Andy's car is new. This would be fine, but this is, as I say, this is basically saying Andy is a big-nosed person. This is a slightly better translation of this. Not that the translation into English is that important, but this is why we don't say Andy's nose is big. It kind of makes it sound like it's something which is separate to me, whereas actually this is a feature of me.
I would translate this as for Andy, there is a big nose.
Yeah, well, actually, this is kind of what it says. Yeah. As for Andy, it is. As for Andy, he is a big nose, actually.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of true. That's basically all I am, is just a big nose. Now, this is actually normally used in a slightly different sense to say, for example, Tobe is clever.
It's a lie.
We'll find out. Do you want to try translating it?
I don't know, clever, actually smart. Would this be like a genius?
You could just use this. You could just say tensai desu or
Tensai
desu. But usually, I think Effie's got the answer there. Do you want to say it, Effie?
Atama?
Atama ga ii. Now, I heard Wayne saying I atama. Now, this is problematic because how do we put this into the sentence? It becomes difficult because you'd have to say I atama ga arimasu. Toby has a good head. We can't really put it in that because your head is part of you. You can't use arimasu. It sounds like you're carrying somebody else's dead head around with you to say, isn't this a good head?
Okay.
Yeah, we have to say Toby's head is good, or Toby is a good-headed person. So in this case, Toby, how would you say this?
Tobe-san wa atama ga ii desu.
Yes, exactly. Atama ga ii desu. Yeah, exactly. Is that okay, guys? Okay. Now, moving on to this bit here then. Do you need any time to make some notes? All good?
Okay.
Yeah. Now, in these cases, we've actually made a full statement. Andy wa hana ga ookii desu. Tobe-san wa atama ga ii desu. But sometimes when you're describing a thing, in place of that ga, we can use no, but not in the same way. Sorry, can you just give me a second, guys? Sorry, I thought somebody was trying to contact me on Teams. Just a second. No, it's okay. Where are we? Sorry, just give me a second. So let me just stop recording a second. I'll stop learning. But this in this kind of statement, then this is the right way to use it. Andy wa hanaga ookii desu. But if you want to now take a thing and say a person with a good head or a person with a big nose and put that into another sentence, then we need to compact that subclause. So if you're describing a thing, the ga can be replaced with no when the clause is short. So for example, if you had a sentence like, we need a long-legged person. I don't want to make this long-legged person anything more than a very short and compact subclause. So in this case, we would say, ashi no nagai hito, yeah, ga hitsuyou desu. I don't want too many gas. If I use ga in here, ashi ga nagai hito ga hitsuyou desu, it's unclear. Let me just write that out again, so I am being clear. Ashi ga nagai hito ga hitsuyou desu. It starts to become unclear what the actual subject is. So here we use no to make this a compacted subclause. Ashi no nagai hito, a person of long legs. Effie, go ahead.
Is it because we also have like a second adjective there and we want to, is it always used like when you have like a second adjective, like blah, 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 this, like this is big, small, so you have like a, yeah. Is it because you use nagai and hitsuyo?
It's not the fact that it's two adjectives, it's the fact that I want to put one described object into a different sentence. So the purpose of this sentence isn't to describe the person with long legs, it's to say that that person is necessary. This doesn't have to be an adjective here. This could be something like, o tabemasu. I will eat a long-legged person, but it's just compacting it down to a really short subclause. But if I want to describe, for example, Ed is a long-legged person, then I could say Ed-san wa ashi ga nagai hito desu. This will be fine.
Yeah, because you use that adjective to describe. That's why I thought maybe if you have two adjectives, or like you have the person, the subject that is described by something, yeah. And this subject is also something else. So maybe that's why I thought, because we use two adjectives and we want to distinguish like
So certainly we're doing something with that described thing, so that the purpose of the sentence isn't just to describe something, it's where we're saying that described thing, I want it, I don't want it, they're going to Tokyo. In that case, then use this no form. Okay. Yeah. So let's look at this one here. A person good at tennis will win the championships. Okay, so now you could use tennis ni jozu. This wouldn't be a problem, but this is also another place where tennis no jozu na hito ga taikai o yūshō shimasu. Yeah, here we're using no. You could use ni, you could use ga, but it makes it a little bit less clear what the subject is if you use ga. Using no compacts it all together, it groups it all together. A large-headed lion is dangerous. Jock, should I have a go at this one? A large-headed lion is dangerous.
Tama oki.
What's going to be the particle though after atama?
頭の大きいライオンが危ないです。
Yes, good. Ga abunai desu. Exactly this. So again, we've got atama no ookii lion ga ookii desu. Abunai desu. And then let's say, let's sit in a sunlit spot. Okay. Sunlit is
Without a shade, isn't it?
without shade. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The way that this is said is it's hi ga ataru. Hi ga ataru. Hi means sun. Ataru means to touch. So to sunlight something is hi ga ataru. So Costa, how would you say let's sit in a sunlit spot?
How do you say spot?
Tokoro.
The place.
Place.
Okay.
Yeah.
I use other words. We use the place that I know it already. Okay. Tokoro no higa.
No. We want to use the hi ga ataru as a modifier for the tokoro.
Higa. Yes, but the other. Hi no ataru. Tokoro ni. There. No,
Let's use that.
Yeah, there, because we're doing some. Suwarimasho.
Yeah, exactly. Suwarimashou. Excellent. Hi no ataru tokoro de suwarimashou. Again, here, if you use ga, it would be perfectly understood, but usually you would say not.
Wouldn't this be ni, not there, since it's sitting?
Yeah, this is the present continuous problem, isn't it? Ni suwarimashou, de suwarimashou. If this verb is in the plain form, not the present continuous form, then follow the rule that de is used for an activity and ni is used for direction. It's only when we get to present continuous we need to worry about this.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Right, we've running short on time. Let's see. Effie, congratulations, you've been selected to win the co-reader thingy. Let me send this to you on thingy, Facebook.
I think I'll need my glasses. I will download it. Opslan. Yes. The Kato, okay. Kato and Suzuki. Okay, I opened the correct one.
So this is lesson 7, Mr. Johnson's arrival. And Mr. Kato and Mr. Suzuki are talking about Mr. Johnson's arrival tomorrow. So there's Kato and Suzuki, obviously they're two Japanese people. They're talking about some foreigner arriving tomorrow, okay? So just for speed, Effie, I'll do the longer texts. So I'll do Kato, you can do Suzuki.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
明日はジョンソンさんが日本に来る日ですね。
そうです。
誰か成田空港まで迎えに行ってくれませんか？
私が行きます。時間がありますから。
今朝頼んだ仕事は今日中に終わりますか？
はい、できます。
じゃあ、お願いします。ところで、ジョンソンさんを知っていますか？This is...
Wait,
Okay, どうぞ、どうぞ、どうぞ。
partner, partner.
ロ
Pondo,
ロ
Rondo.
ロンドン。
London. I didn't see the after though. ロンドンの、事務所に行った人ですね。写真で見たことがあります。No?
Hey, yes, sorry, I'm just reading. 成田空港に着く時間は14時50分です。飛行機は早く着くこともありますから、早めに昼食を済ませて出発してください。
はい。
Oh, they must be eating lunch when they're talking about this. Right.
はい。ジョンソンさんの泊まるホテルはどこですか？
渡辺さんが知っていますから、渡辺さんに聞いてください。
はい。
Is that fairly straightforward, guys? Yeah? Cool. Okay, let's have a quick look and translate this. 少々お待ちください。Meeting. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, can you see this okay? Okay, just for... actually, yeah, we can probably do this quickly.
Okay.
Jock, would you like to go first? Oh, sorry, let me just zoom out slightly so I can just write at the same time. Oh, hang on. I'm just moving things around a little bit. Otherwise, I won't be able to write. Actually, maybe I don't need to write it down anyway. It's pretty simple. Okay.
You want just the English or?
Do you want to quickly read the Japanese and then say what it is in English?
Okay. 明日はジョンソンさんが日本に来る日ですね。Johnson is coming to Japan tomorrow.
No.
Yeah?
It's not exactly it.
Well, tomorrow is the day that Johnson comes to Japan.
Right, exactly, yes. Yeah, it's saying ashita wa, so it's marking tomorrow as the subject.
Yeah.
Effie, do you want to do the next two lines?
So this. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
誰か成田oh my god, what am I reading? 空港まで、
はい
迎えに行ってくれませんか？ So, who is いりませんか？ Wait, 誰が who?
Not who, but 誰 not 誰が but 誰か
Someone?
Yep.
Someone, I guess the text is like someone has to go pick him up from the airport, from Narita. But how do I phrase it?
Yeah, so this is basically making a request, isn't it? So can someone go to meet him at Narita Airport?
Okay, because I thought it's to him, directed to him. And I was like, why someone? So
it was just saying, can someone? Yeah.
So can someone go pick him up from Narita?
Exactly, yes.
Mukaini, what is it?
Mukaini, to go and meet, to go and pick up.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all together.
Yeah. Tobe, next one.
私が行きます。時間ありますから。
はい。
I will go.
Yep.
From what time?
No, this is
which time?
時間がありますから。
ありますから。When will he be there?
No. Jikan means just time, like duration. I have time. This means because I have time.
Because right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. If it was nanji kara ikimasu ka, then this would be
of course.
Time.
Of course. Yes. I'm sorry.
That's good.
So, yeah, I have time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I have time. Yeah. Costa Coffee, next bit.
You pointed because I lost.
We're just here.
Kesa. Kesa, is it correct?
Yeah, correct.
Kesa tanonda shigoto wa
Ju.
kyoju ni owarimasu ka?
So listen. And what does this mean?
Okay, Kesa is the company, isn't it?
I know it means this morning. This morning.
Yeah, this morning. Okay, this morning, Kesa. Tanonda, I don't know this.
So tanomu means to request or to entrust.
So this morning, entrusted to go to the company, shigoto.
Work, not company.
Work. Okay. This is a number that I cannot recognize.
Okay, let me help with this because we're
Yeah,
a little bit short of time. So kesa, this morning, tanonda shigoto wa. So this is the work that I asked you to do this morning. So we've used a past tense verb here as a modifier for this noun. Tanonda shigoto, the work that I entrusted to you. Kyoju ni. Kyoju, kyo means today. Ju is naka, like chudan, naka, which means within today. Within today.
Within the day. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Owarimasu ka? So will you finish the work that I requested of you this morning?
Okay.
Yeah. And then next line.
I'll do the next line too. Okay. Hi, dekimasu.
Good. And Jock?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Dekimasu is go dekimasu. I will be able to do it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, exactly. Jock, next line.
Do I do the next line?
Oh, sorry, Wayne. Sorry, I forgot you were there. Wayne, go ahead. Sorry.
じゃあ、お願いします。ところで、ジョンソンさんを知っていますか？
はい。
So, please do that. By the way, do you know Mr. Johnson?
Good. Do you want to do the next one as well, Wayne? Because I've missed you out on quite a lot. This is London. London.
ロンドンのジャム、
This is G.
事務所に行った人ですで、住む。
ですね。ロンドンの事務所に行った人ですね。
はい。He's the guy from the London office.
Yeah. So this is, again, we're using a past tense verb here, ita, from imas, iru, to modify the person. So this is the person who was in the London office.
Okay.
Yeah. London no jimsho ni. So this is the location in the London office. Ita hito, the person who was there. Person who was there, isn't it? And then he says, And then, Jock, would you like to go next? This one from here?
写真で見たところがあります。
Yeah.
I've seen a photograph of him.
Exactly. Good. And Effie?
成田空港に着く時間はokay 14:50 です。Until there?
Yeah, please.
So his arrival time to cool no.
Yep, exactly.
His arrival time in Narita airport.
Yep.
Is 14:50.
Good. And do you want to do the next line as well?
飛行機は早く着くこともありますから。And what was that? 車ね。
This is 早め
に就職を
chūshoku.
昼食を、済ませ what? 済ませて
Sumasete. Yeah.
So, I don't know that. 済ませて、I can read that.
Shupatsu.
出発してください. Oh my god.
Okay.
Something
let's-
about the airplane. Okay.
Yeah. Hikoki wa, so the airplane. Hayaku tsuku koto mo arimasu.
Got it. So because the airplane arrives early.
So
Oh,
hayaku tsuku koto, the arriving early, koto mo arimasu means there is a possibility that the plane will arrive, but there's a chance the plane might arrive early. Yeah.
So he says you have to be on time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Hayame ni
You should be
chūshoku
early.
o sumasete. Can you guess what this means? Chūshoku o sumasete.
Is that the route, the arrival? No, is
No.
that the place? No.
No, it means finish lunch early. Chūshoku lunch sumasete, which means I'm not. This sounds like a formal way of suru sumasete, to enjoy lunch early, and then depart.
Yeah, okay. And so leave out. Yeah, okay. Oh my god. It's
Yeah, finish lunch early.
complicated.
A little bit, yeah. Tobe, next line.
はい。ジョンソンさんの泊まるホテルは、どこですか？
はい。
Yes. Johnson stay at the hotel.
どこですか?
Where
Yeah.
is Johnson staying?
Yes,
Which,
yeah. Go ahead.
which hotel is Johnson staying at?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So Johnson-san no tomaru. So again, we've got this marked as the modifier. This becomes the modifier of the hotel. So where is the hotel that Johnson is staying in? Yeah, good. And Constant Coffee, do you want to do the last of it?
It was more easy when I hear you saying this, reading it. Watana Besanga.
Hi.
I don't even know what is this, okay?
This is shiru, to know.
Okay. Okay. Shiruteimasu kara, Watanabe san ni,
Hi.
聞いてください。
Yeah.
It's not easy when I'm reading it like this.
Let me read it to you so you can translate it. Watanabe-san ga shite imasu kara, Watanabe-san ni kiite kudasai.
Mr. Watanabe, you know Siru?
He knows, yeah, he knows the hotel.
He knows the hotel. Please go. I didn't kiteimasu.
Kiite kudasai. Kiite kudasai.
Ask him, please. Please ask
Exactly,
him.
yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good. Okay, so we've got several examples in here where we're using a verb as a modifier for the noun. So, for example, Nihon ni kuru hi. Tanonda shigoto, the work that I've entrusted to you. London no jimsho ni itte hito. He is the person who was in the London branch office. Oh, that's not in there. Johnson-san no tomaru hoteru. So the hotel that Johnson-san is going to stay in, and that's it.
And the arrival time, the tsuku jikan wa?
Tsuku jikan. Yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah. Tsuku. Where was that again?
The first day.
Yeah, just here. Yeah, good. Tsuku jikan. So the arriving time. Tsuku jikan. Cool. Yeah, good. We're out of time, guys. Any questions?
No, it's fine.
Excellent. Right. Hope you found it useful. I'm here all week. Thanks, guys. お疲れ様でした。
Thank you.
またね。
お疲れ様でした
気をつけて。
またね、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。